This is The Last of Us during its prototype phase, and it's one of the earliest demos Naughty Dog ever made. This prototype was made to showcase what Naughty Dog wanted combat in this game to feel like. Neil Druckmann wanted this brand new franchise to have raw and visceral combat sequences. What makes this even more remarkable is that this game was a product of a split team. For the first time in Naughty Dog's entire history, they had split into two different teams. One team was tasked with creating Uncharted 3, while the other ventured into a new unknown world and created a brand new series from the ground up. Today, I will take you through an exploration of the development of The Last of Us, uncovering how the game evolved from a simple idea to a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Pre-production for The Last of Us started in 2009. Naughty Dog decided to make a post-apocalyptic game because they wanted to tell a story about two people and how their relationship evolves over the course of the game. Specifically, Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley wanted to explore the complexities of a relationship between two people in a world that had been ravaged by a devastating pandemic. They felt that there was something special about the potential of that story. And in the original script of the game, the writers had planned for Ellie to be Joel's biological daughter. The reason Joel's daughter changed to Ellie was because they wanted the relationship between the two characters to evolve throughout the game. But if Ellie had been Joel's daughter from the beginning, there would have been no room for that relationship to develop, as Joel would have already been completely devoted to protecting her. By starting with strangers, it allowed for a gradual buildup of trust and affection, which mirrors the player's experience. The writers originally wanted the story to act as Ellie's coming-of-age story, with her actions and influences in the story and Joel's character growing as the story progressed. The story would evolve both characters, namely Joel's humanity and Ellie's independence. There was even a plan to have Ellie be the one to kill Tess, who was at the time the game's primary antagonist, to demonstrate her having evolved into the protector role that Joel was for her. While the writing team was hard at work on the story of the game, the combat team was tasked with creating a new combat system from the ground up. They aimed to capture the brutal and visceral tone of The Last of Us, emphasizing high-stakes survival aspects of the game's world. The scarcity of ammunition in the game would drive the need for a stronger melee system, especially when fighting the infected, who don't use guns, obviously. One of the key pillars of the game was not about the pandemic or the infected, but how human beings reacted to the harsh environment. The combat has to be high stakes. The combat team initially envisioned a more traditional melee system with block and evade mechanics, aiming to create a strategic decision-making process for the player. However, numerous playtests revealed significant challenges with this. Finding a satisfying timing window for a block button proved to be difficult, resulting in experiences that were either too easy or impossibly hard. Additionally, the game's close-up camera perspective, meant to convey intensity and empathy for the characters, clashed with the ability to block unseen attacks. The Last of Us' focus on stealth and one-on-one combat rather than large-scale brawls meant that a block mechanic felt less necessary and impactful. A part of the game that changed drastically throughout the development of the game is the infected. The team initially considered a scenario where the only threats were humans with no infected at all, focusing on how humans survive in a post-apocalyptic society. But what Naughty Dog realized is that since they were making an action game, they couldn't convey the story through gameplay of what happened to the world without a threat to show. Originally, the infected had a more alien-like appearance. Some of them looked subhuman, but they couldn't find an original place for them. But one day, an artist created a mashup where they found images of diseases and fungal growth and mashed them together and put it on a human. The fungal infection was such a great design for Naughty Dog, not only in terms of enemy variety, but also environmental too. The infected spores offered a stark contrast to the bleak world. Once Naughty Dog had a good sense of direction for combat, story, and enemies, they moved on to the sound design, which was another key aspect of making the story feel believable and grounded. They were tasked with figuring out how to make it truly sound like a post-apocalyptic world and forcing the player to listen for subtle cues, making the environment feel more unpredictable and dangerous.
Get up over this truck. Let's see what we can find.
To hire a couple of voice actors who did some interesting work, and we worked with this girl, Misty Lee.
She started giving us these really great screeches. And it started going into this little click. We also used a little bit of Phil's voice. We'd combine that also with an occasional, Derek. This is a composite of all the bits I just told you about.
Another critical portion of the game was the lighting. Since this was the first time they would explore a post-apocalyptic world, how would they light it? Considering electricity was a scarcity in this universe, how would you fill interior combat encounters with light? The team initially chose to use mostly natural light sources, reflecting the world's lack of electricity. This created a sense of realism and adds to the game's dark atmosphere. They emphasize the importance of ambient lighting, creating soft shadows even in areas without direct sunlight. This aspect was important to the tone of the game. To really sell the player on the devastation of the world, they had to make the environments reflect this.
Yeah, once we're done with this whole thing, I'm gonna teach you how to play guitar. What do you say, huh?
Naughty Dog would officially pull back the curtains on The Last of Us at the Spike 2011 Video Game Awards. Fans of Naughty Dog were shocked to see the studio, known mostly for Uncharted, unveiling a dark, post-apocalyptic survival game instead. The trailer showcased incredible graphics, realistic animations, and emotional depth, which instantly set it apart from anything else in the gaming industry at the time. Comparisons to The Walking Dead were made and had people asking the question of how this would be different. Excitement was sky high already, but the audience still had a ton of unanswered questions. How would the gameplay feel? Would it live up to this cinematic trailer? But one thing was clear: The Last of Us had everyone's attention from the very beginning. We wouldn't have to wait too long to get answers to these questions, however. In 2012, Naughty Dog showcased a 7-minute gameplay reveal that not only highlighted the game's stunning environments and tense combat, but also gave us a deeper look at the relationship between Joel and Ellie. Unlike typical AI companions, Ellie wasn't just a passive character. She actively helped Joel by calling out threats, throwing bricks to stun enemies, and reacting dynamically to the world around her. And just as a quick reminder, this game was running on a PlayStation 3. Naughty Dog pushed the limits of the console to its maximum capability with this demo. The reception to this gameplay demo was overwhelmingly positive, which completely amplified the hype to a new peak. Naughty Dog was cooking with this game, and we wouldn't have to wait too long to try it out ourselves. And in June of 2013, a year after the reveal gameplay trailer, Naughty Dog released The Last of Us to the world. Within the opening 20 minutes, players were absolutely on board with what they had to offer us with this game. Its narrative was very different than what the gaming landscape was used to at the time. It was more of a cinematic journey instead of a game, if I'm being completely honest. Not only was the narrative incredible, but the cinematography, the sound design, environments, and combat were all universally loved. The following year, Naughty Dog would also release a remaster for the game, the first one if I'm being honest, and the combined sales of both the PS3 and PS4 versions would equal over 30 million units sold. The popularity of this game also created an HBO television series, which also became one of the biggest TV shows of 2023. If you guys enjoyed this deep dive into the development of The Last of Us, I also went over the development of Spider-Man 2018 and God of War. Those games were equally as incredible in their development process, and I would love if you guys took a look at them. If there's anything I missed during this video, or if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you.